So let's talk about that audit. Janet Napolitano was on the hot seat this week up in Sacramento. What troubles you the most about the audit, the findings, and how she responded to it?
Sure. Well, the audit had many troubling findings. The first was the undisclosed off-budget fund that was not disclosed to the regents, either the spending or even its existence, and that fund was being amassed or built up within the Office of the President. At the same time, they were asking for tuition increases from students, taking campus assessments away, dollars that could have been spent on our California students. So that was very troubling. The good news is they've agreed to take all the budget recommendations of the audit report, so that's good. But very troubling was the tampering that appears to have happened between the Office of the President and the communications that were supposed to go to the auditor confidentially to give us unfiltered, unadulterated information. They interfered with the investigation that the auditor had, and that to me is troubling, and the response that the President had. I don't believe she was fully forthright. I know she wasn't in the hearing, and that has gravely concerned me. You and some of your Republican colleagues are asking to subpoena some records, budget records, invoices, those kinds of things. What are you looking for? Do you feel like there may have been some law broken, perhaps, or what? Really, for me, I want to get to the facts. That's the first part. The office has had a problem with candor, both in terms of the financial documents. There's still a lot of unanswered questions that the auditor was unable to get information about. We need to get that out there. But secondly is this issue of how the University Office of the President interfered with the communications. They actually took some of the input that was supposed to go to the auditor, crossed it out and edited it to make it sound better, and then gave it forward. And that was directed at the highest level from President Napolitano, something that she did not agree with at the hearing. And that to me is troubling. I do believe the best way to deal with it is fact-finding subpoenas. Get the full information in a disciplined way so we have the facts. Could you see this leading to her resignation? I will leave that up to the regents and the president, but I tell you, this is the most troubling audit I've seen. The auditor said in her testimony on Wednesday, in her 17 years, she has never seen that type of interference in this type of audit report, and that should cause everyone to take a look and see what's the appropriate action. Quickly, so we can move on, though, do you support rolling back that tuition increase that the regents approved earlier this year? Absolutely. The day that this audit report came out, I had a 1-hour briefing with the auditor to go through it first to make sure I understood the findings, and then called for a freeze in the tuition increase and the salary increases, the benefit increases, and the administrative costs. We owe it to California students to do that. Let's move on to health care. I was in the Capitol yesterday when that vote was going down in the House of Representatives, and a lot of offices had the TV on watching. California, of course, stands to potentially lose billions of dollars if the Medicaid expansions are pulled back, that kind of thing. Do you support the bill as it was passed in the House this week? Well, first of all, California went all in with Covered California in the Affordable Care Act, and we do stand to lose billions of dollars. What's probably a better reflection of my belief on what should happen with health care at the federal level is H.R. 28, which I was the only Republican to vote for in the state assembly. Of course, this vote was in the House of Representatives. It was a reflection of how should we best maintain coverage and also some choice for Californians. That's probably a better reflection of what I think is the policy and where we should go. But given what's happening in Congress, I mean, now it goes to the Senate. I mean, would you like to see them start all over, or are there things about what passed this week that you like? One thing that I know for sure is it's going to be winding through a complicated process. It's got to get through the Senate. It's got to get to the president's desk. I think it needs to maintain choice, and it needs to maintain access, including for pre-existing conditions. You said California was all in on the ACA. Do you think California went too far in expanding Medicaid, Medi-Cal to too many people? Yeah, that was one area that I really disagreed with the governor last year, is we did expand well beyond particularly our Medi-Cal. And the problem with that is we don't have enough money now to provide quality, accessible health care for Californians that are here now and needing Medi-Cal. And then we expanded it by quite a lot, and we don't have the budget for that. So I do believe that's one of the problems that's going to make it difficult for us to respond to what happens at the federal level. Let's talk about transportation. SB 1 passed. The governor signed it, a $52 billion revenue generator over 10 years for roads and public transit. You voted against it. I did. A lot of commuters in your district rely on the roads. What was your fundamental opposition to it? Fundamentally, if we're going to even think about taking more tax dollars and revenue from Californians, we have got to show we're making the reforms necessary to spend it better, and we have to do that first. And the bill had virtually zero reforms to modernize Caltrans to be more efficient with those dollars. And of the 107 pages, there was one page that mentioned Caltrans, and it was 6 lines that set a goal for better operations, and that was it. They've never been able to meet that goal. We could have done more. But that's the bill that was before the legislature. Are you saying that
doing nothing would have been better than passing what passed?
I think doing the right thing, which is do the reforms with any kind of conversations about revenue, but zero conversations about reform happened, zero parts in the bill. And unfortunately, Californians, I think, deserve better. If we're asking them for more money, the highest gas tax increase in California history, a gas tax that continues year after year after year, and we do nothing to spend it better, that's the wrong way to go.
California, of course, has become sort of the center of resistance to the Trump agenda. And I'm wondering, as a Republican, how do you feel about what the legislature is doing and specifically the sanctuary state bill, SB 54, which passed the Senate? It's now in your house.
Yeah, it's coming on. It's all the way over in the Senate. I probably won't get an opportunity to vote on it until it's on the Assembly floor. And look, I can tell you, it's an issue that is keenly important to constituents in my district and I think Californians. For me, I happen to support a very welcoming immigration policy, including for refugees. We have to keep everyone safe. And whoever's here and how they got here, we have to keep them safe. The main thing I'll look at with that bill is, does it allow law enforcement to keep people safe? If not, it's not a good bill. Really
quickly, we're short on time. There's no endangered species list for politicians or Republicans, but you'd be on it if there was.
I like to think of it as a seed that grows.
Why do you think Republicans have had such a hard time with their message, certainly in the Bay Area in particular, but in the state? And again, I apologize, but we're short on time.
I think the California Republican Party has had challenges for the last 2 decades. I think we're listening more to Californians than I think you're seeing a lot of the majority agenda in Sacramento, what people need to improve their quality of life. And if we keep on that path, I think we're going to continue to do better and better.
All right, Assemblywoman Catharine Baker, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.